sonicstate.com.
I bought this just for you lot. I just thought it was so British. I thought it was so British that I just had to wear it because I knew you Herberts were coming round today.
Fly the flag, man.
Yes. Okay. Hello again. It's Dave from G Media and GForce, and this year I've got nothing at all to show you. No, actually that is a lie. We've spent the last year recording pretty much every string machine in existence, ever. And it's an amazing genre, actually. We started out by thinking, oh, this might be a bit of a one-trick pony, but as we got deeper into it, we started to uncover an awful lot of really interesting facts, even for non-synth anoraks, I hasten to add. For example, the string machine genre was invented by a British bloke called Ken Freeman, who showed his Freeman string symphonizer and at the Frankfurt Messe in about 1971, and then a Dutch company kind of saw what he was doing and took that away and created their own string synth in a very basic form, and that saw light of day within an organ called the Eminent 310, which was used by Jean-Michel Jarre for oxygen and stuff, and eventually that broke out of the organ and kind of morphed a little bit, but saw life as the legendary Solina. So what we've done is we've kind of gone through chronologically, taking things like the Freeman and the Eminent and obviously the Solina, and then the more obvious Omnis and Krumar multimans and stuff like that. So we've got this huge library, and you think kind of string machines, yeah, it all sounds the same, but actually things sound really different. So we thought, well, it's no good just doing a normal string machine with very few parameters that you could tweak. So we decided to kind of try and take it a step further. So in effect, on my screen here, I have the new baby. What you have are two layers. So we have, on this layer, we have a Solina, cello, viola, and violins. And this is a modulated sound. This uses the ensemble effect. So that's on layer A. We click on layer A and we can see all the parameters now turn red, which correspond with that. So we've got a filter envelope here, amplitude envelope, velocity controls. You can pan this layer individually left and right. You can detune it. You can tune it up or down an octave, and then set obviously the level. And then when you've kind of got that right and you think, oh yeah, I want to layer it up with something else, you can call in the second layer here. So here's obviously the list of machines we've got with the shipping version, and then there'll be an expansion pack once we finish the incredibly arduous job of looping everything, and you'll be able to add to this collection from that. So there's layer B. We click on the B and everything turns green, but obviously there are times where you're going to want to edit everything together. So if you click on the link button, you'll see that instead of red and green, everything turns blue. So now every change we make will affect both layers simultaneously. So we can sharpen up the amp envelope a little bit, the attack time here. We can slow it down, and that'll take effect over both layers. So if we click to A and B, those will be identical. So I'll give you an idea of a couple of sounds, just to give you an idea of how versatile this is. So this is like a two-layer Solina with the bass, the cello, violins and violas. But we've put some filtering on and a nice slow attack. We've put none of the global effects on this, although you've got a global phaser and an ensemble. So So that's just one of the sounds in its kind of raw state. Once you've combined your patches, your relative layers, and set up all your envelopes and filters, etc., you can then output that as an individual patch. So we've got a load of different patches here. Let's take a couple of extremes. So here's a Roland RS202 that we've got low filter cutoff. So you can hear it's quite versatile. One of my favourite string machines, I refer to it as a synth because it was called the Freeman String Symphonizer, so it kind of sounds a bit synth-like, but it isn't, was the original Freeman string synth. Now we've sampled every note of every one of the 49 notes and painstakingly looped it, so that's why I'm a bit dishevelled, because we didn't actually finish all of this until just before the show. But what I love about this is it uses the divide down technology. Hello Panos, this is the guy from Apple. He's responsible for all the changes we have to make in every revision of Logic. Actually he's not, he's a cool guy, so I won't give him too much shit. So, because it uses divide down technology, underneath each of the notes, effectively you had a control. There was 2 oscillators per note and you could detune each of them very slightly, so setting it up so that it was absolutely uniform was almost impossible. So what we've got is a kind of, you'll hear the note there is fairly static, but there's a whole different set of modulation stuff going on there. And one of the things I really love is like every C is slightly brighter than the previous note. So if we start with an original C, brighter, getting duller, bright, super bright. Shariah, good friend of mine. Hello, dude. So within the context of chord, so it can really sound like, I love the way these things kind of fly out at you and zingy, and it just adds so much character to the instrument per se. Other stuff, things like, what have we got? Let's have a look at some of the Eminent stuff. So the Eminent was the organ with the little incorporated string machine in, which had, again, quite a unique sound to it. So let's just add this. I've added some phaser on this. It's a very low speed. We can determine the mix between the dry and the wet signal, the depth. You can change the center frequency, and then obviously the resonance. At the minute it's 12 and 6 pole. We might change that before the release version. We've had some really good feedback here, so we might change a couple of things. But you get that swirly, which I love. There's an ensemble unit on it. Let me try and find a patch with that. Whoa. Let's go here. I mean, everybody loves the Solina, so let's try a few of those. So in its raw state. But now we'll add some ensemble. So just increase the mix between wet and dry, and then we can change the detune. Make it a bit excessive. Just give it a sharper attack. Six voices. 8 voices. And each of the voices has a kind of individual pan position. So you can actually layer up 2 completely different sounds and pan them dead center, but then obviously using the ensemble you get that kind of big fat spread sound. Anyway, we could hark on about how great the multi-band filters are and how cool the envelopes are and how we've tried to model the effects on some of the classic kind of vintage stuff. But the coolest feature on this instrument has to be the Easter egg. So we hold down these 3 keys, and sometimes, you know, it's just not working for you and you need to walk away and get a little bit of inspiration. But I'm such a lazy git that I rarely leave the chair at home anyway, so this for me is the perfect antidote. Click on the GUI and hey presto. Except I'm quite shit at breakout. And then when your missus comes in and goes, what's that noise? That sounds like the Atari years ago. You go, I don't know. It's all back to normal. You know, like I say, originally we thought, oh, it's going to be a bit of a one-trick pony, but gradually as we started to get, you know, like a wide range of different string machines. I mean, like the Crumar, for example, is just this really kind of cheesy, but within the context of a mix, it'll sit beautifully. But then you can filter it, edit it however you need, add the ensemble, and you've taken this kind of minuscule, nasally, kind of very cheesy sound and ended up with quite a lush, but still cheesy sound.
So, universal binary, this is presumably?
This is easy, because from the off, this is universal binary. It's so much easier creating a new instrument with a particular, you know, in a particular format. The older stuff has taken time, but we're there. We are there, and I can't believe it. It took me to send a picture of me on my knees begging in order to motivate everybody. I had to humiliate myself enough that people would go, okay, we'll actually do the work now for him.
So you've got all universal binaries for working here?
Actually, we've been a bit lippy, really, and probably a bit reckless. We brought the universal binaries in. Actually, we came from the flight straight here, loaded up the universal binaries onto all the machines, and we're using the show as the kind of, hopefully, the final test to see how robust they are. And then we spent the last couple of days going, oh, please, please don't crash. And actually, thankfully, it looks like we're pretty much there. There's one or two little tweaks. M-Tron, Odditty, impOSCar, and Mini Monster. There's one more thing to deal with Mini Monster, but actually we're going to start rolling them out sort of early Feb. So it'll probably be M-Tron and impOSCar first, Odditty, and then the Mini Monster, probably sort of towards March, maybe mid-March.
Right. There's going to be a lot of people very pleased to hear that, aren't they?
Yeah, not least me. I was going to have a t-shirt made. Universal binaries, don't ask. But now we can rest. VSM will be out in March. And I think the price is going to be, at the minute it looks like about a $129 street price. Be a $149. It works weird here in the US. They have this kind of recommended retail price, which actually no one really pays. So I think that's a kind of $149, but the price that everyone will pay is usually about $129.
Are these free upgrades, or are you charging?
We haven't decided yet. To be honest, it's literally like taken a year of our lives, and it's kind of derailed so much of the other stuff that we wanted to do, that we had in the pipeline. I don't think we've got any choice but to charge, but we're going to try and do the maths after the show and just keep it as low as possible.
sonicstate.com.
Why does it say arse in the corner, Dave?
Oh God, Nick. I'm going to get myself into trouble again. Well, we originally we had a working title of Analog Replica String Ensemble. And just the moniker arse just stuck. So we were constantly referring to it as arse, arse, arse. And I wanted t-shirts with like nice arse on it. And an advert, maybe with my wife's arse on there going, nice arse. And even the Digi guys were going, oh, we got some great ideas for marketing. We could have a sumo wrestler and a picture of the string machine. It would be like, which arse do you prefer? But then as with a lot of American companies, once it gets to the kind of legal end, they go, you can't use that. Have you got any better names? And we were like, So somebody not a million miles from here suggested string hybrid instrument technology. And actually, it would have been even better because you could have had arse incorporating shit. And just to prove how puerile we can be, we even thought about putting a colon between the R and the S, so that you've got a colon in the middle of your arse. But sadly, they beat us down, and we've now called it the Virtual String Machine.